Divine Mercy Sunday has become a very popular Sunday within our church year. Really started by Pope St. John Paul II, he designated the second Sunday of Easter to be Divine Mercy Sunday. And he did it because of his great love of St. Faustina, and because of her writings, and because of her connection and the one thing she wrote about the divine mercy of God. Many of our people understand divine mercy in a special way because of St. Faustina and St. Pope John Paul II. When we celebrate that day, we think in particular about the mercy of God shown to us. In the gospel of that day, we have two wonderful stories. The story of Jesus giving the disciples the power to forgive sins, which is a wonderful sign of God's great love and mercy to you and me. Also in the gospel story, we hear about St. Thomas, the apostle, who doubted that Jesus had risen from the dead until he saw Jesus personally and was able to touch him. We know at that moment too, in that special experience for Thomas, there was the great mercy and gentleness of Jesus shown toward him, the great mercy of God. When you think of the word mercy, I think of the Latin word. The Latin word for mercy is misericordia. And if you break down the word misericordia, it's really two words, miserere and cordia. Miserere means to be poor or to be suffering, and cordia means heart. So when we think of mercy, especially through the Latin word, we think of having a divine or a special heart towards those who are poor or those who are suffering. I guess that really explains God's mercy to us, because God's divine heart is always pouring out mercy and love upon you and me, especially when we are suffering or in difficulty or in need. So misericordia or mercy means having a special heart for those who are suffering and those in need. Not only on Divine Mercy Sunday do we think about the mercy of Jesus and God to us, but also we follow the example and do our best to have a heart of mercy or a heart towards those who are in need and those who are suffering. Some people think, well, maybe I have to look far and wide to find those people. Not really. I'm sure that even if we look within our very own families or our communities, you might find people who are suffering and people who need a heart extended to them with mercy and forgiveness. During the Easter season, it's a special time after the great celebration of the resurrection for us to look at our relationships with one another, to look at where we might need to show a heart of mercy or a heart towards those who are suffering and in need, and to show that merciful heart in the same way that Jesus has demonstrated it to us. Divine Mercy Sunday, a very special day, but you know, it reminds us that the mercy of God is not just extended on one day of the year, but continually. The mercy of the Lord is poured out upon you and me all the time. And that's because of God's great love for us. And especially is God's mercy poured upon us when we need forgiveness of our sins and we are sorry, or when we feel ourselves alone or in a poor situation. We know that God's mercy helps build us up and give us the strength and courage to move forward. So when you go to church and when you hear the word mercy explained or put forward in many of our prayers, think of the mercy of God for you and me. Think of God's heart of love pouring his mercy and goodness within us. And think of how we are called to show similar kinds of hearts to one another. I think that's what Divine Mercy is all about. And that's what Divine Mercy Sunday demonstrates to us. May that mercy be always a sign of how we live and interact with one another as followers of Jesus.